Hey, this is Michael Lake. Today's quick tip is on a cliche that you hear all the time, and the saying goes, practice makes perfect. Well, practice doesn't necessarily make perfect, and in fact, it can actually make you worse, and it really depends on how you practice. So one of the things to understand is kind of how our brain works. You know, the way our brain works is it's always trying to be as absolutely efficient as possible. So when you try something new, whether it's playing a musical instrument or riding a bike or whatever it may be, the first time you do it, your brain kind of makes a neural connection. Next time you do it, it does it again. And as you continue to do something over and over, it makes a more solid connection. At a certain point, it actually builds a shield, kind of like an insulation around that neural connection to make sure that it stays put and it does what it's supposed to do. And that's great, but what happens if, in a musical context, what happens if you're practicing in a way that's kind of ingraining some bad habits? You know, maybe you're self-taught. You haven't had a teacher show you how to breathe properly, how to hold your hands, how to hold your arms, posture, and all that good stuff. And after a certain amount of time, you've kind of ingrained those bad habits. This is obviously a point of getting a good teacher when you first start out. But it also is for players that may have the fundamentals together, but maybe you've just got some sloppy practicing habits. I've just written a PDF, a ebook called The Brain-Friendly Method for Musical Excellence. And in it, I talk about, obviously, the brain and how understanding how the brain works will help you practice and perform better. So one of the things I talk about is making sure that when you're practicing a piece of music, or, I talk about improvisation where you may be playing over changes and there's that section, maybe it's the bridge, maybe it's Have You Met Miss Jones? The bridge typically trips people up. But maybe you're practicing that just going from front to back, start to finish, over and over and over, and you get to the bridge and you kind of stumble around, but you figure it'll work itself out eventually, and that's kind of how you practice from beginning to end. What's happening is you're ingraining that sloppiness in the bridge into your playing. Your brain is basically saying that's the way we're supposed to play this. Instead of slowing it down, taking a small part of it, if we're talking about Miss Jones, maybe the first 2 bars, maybe the first bar, 2 bars of the bridge, working it over and over, taking the next 2, working those over and over, getting in the harmony, getting, under your fingers, the changes, putting them together, moving on, and really practicing that way so that your brain is building the right connections, not the sloppy ones. So the next time you hear practice makes perfect, think to yourself, how am I practicing and is this making me perfect? Thanks.